My artwork is a surreal approach to reimagining the life underground after we dug holes and left the ground opened, unused, vulnerable, showing a possible example of how we can take responsibility and treat the damaged ground that provided us with life and energy. An attempt to reunite the above and the underground after we interfered and opened up a gateway between the two worlds and left it open. How can we give something back? How can we close the cycle? My sculpture represents the idea of how we can be part of nature's cycle of living and dying. Humans tend to always interfere and profit from the cycle without being an active part of it, without making sure that the cycle still keeps functioning, without ever understanding that in order to use it, to take it, we have to become part of it. We need to take responsibility for our past actions and start to consider us as part of nature instead of being above it. I have portrayed in my work human bodies being literally transformed by machinery into material that can be used in future life. Fear of death and death as an ultimate destination, death and life being so separate. Humans have always feared death. Death is unknown, dark, calm, or loud. Is it lonely, or is it an occasion to meet again? Is it purposeful? Is it a start to a new life? Death in nature has a purpose, and it is as important as life itself. Death ensures and sustains life. Death is right next to life without ever being feared or avoided. This piece is an attempt to create a world where life and death coexist. They are almost one. They form a cycle. I started my research by imagining the city as a body. How does it function? What happens if two body parts are not connected anymore, damaged? How can Genk be healed after the human interference, exploitation of the earth and the long cycle of transformed material? I started to think about how Genks under and above ground form a body that was once functioning properly, but then was exploited and changed by humans, altering it. I started to build structures and sketches to connect the industrial architectural with body parts, experimenting how a body of a city must feel like. The underground fascinated me. It seemed like a whole different world and dimension. I started to imagine that everything that happened above ground just happens underground, but in reverse. The underground shadowing the above. What humans would live underground? How would they look like? Small eyes, long necks, bigger lungs, fragile bones, pale skin. I wanted to reflect the ideas of underground life forms and the evolution they would undergo in the body of my work. The underground was once a symbol for the heart of Genk, the engine, which enabled the city above to grow and become bigger and bigger. But eventually, the mining stopped and the heart of the city now stands still. Then I started to build, playing with materials, letting all my previous thoughts unconsciously morph into shapes and patterns. How do we make sure that our lives will serve as important materials for new creatures millions and millions of years from now? My work posits that it is our responsibility to actively continue the cycle. I was researching different artists such as Bob Hendricks, who is looking at how to turn humans into compost, a so-called loop of life. He says that life and death are often a linear process, but how can we make it into a loop? He created coffins out of mycelium, which recycles organic matter into key nutrients for seedlings to flourish. An idea that seemed so fascinating to me and gave my overall idea to transform people into useful material a more realistic ground. I find creating a whole world in a limited space so engaging. It can be so simple and yet so complex. You have the power to take it wherever you want. I always seem to take my works into a scary but also funny direction, which transforms the negative into something positive and vice versa. A beautiful quote from Raya. I want to take this idea further by using my sculpture as a base for a short film idea. A world underground with 4 different rooms filled with people who are unaware of the other rooms. Yet they influence each other. If one room turns on the light to start the day, the lights in the next room turn off, indicating the end of the day. Days pass by, and the people stay unaware of each other's existence despite their mutual dependence.